Okay, hello everybody. Thank you for tuning in. For those who will be tuning in or listening in, today is December the 1st. It is a Wednesday, and so I am doing a episode of my Spiritual Sense webinar as well as a podcast episode. And today we're going to speak about spiritual transition. So I'm on a website, and a lot of the information I haven't done too much. Um, um, Let me take and put my tablet. I haven't done too much. Let me make sure I got my up to par. Okay. I hate to not be prepared when I do my presentations. But today's topic, I haven't done too much research on the topic because I do feel like this is going to be something that I'm using. And the lingo that I may use in reference to what the next person may use, I'll be more descriptive as to what I mean when I say spiritual transition. So I did briefly look this up, and I think this is going to be closest to what I feel in terms of spiritual transition. Okay. So my definition of spiritual transition is, there's different forms of transition. You can have a renewing, a spiritual renewing, or rejuvenation, or spiritual restoration, which can also be considered a spiritual transition in the spirit as well. But the type of transition that I'm speaking on is like transition from this time and space to the next one. Okay. For those who have been following me or have, listening in, oftentimes you will find that, I always use the same cliches or phrases, the biggest trick, the devil ever fool, being one of the phases or phrases that I like to use. And if you are somebody that is empathetic or empath, oftentimes you would take on an impression or a phase, if you may. Like you begin to go through a phase where you are compelled or set in a mode or some type of OCD about a situation. It could be on any given topic. Just so happened for the last couple of years, mine has been focused on that. Now, you may have some people, theirs may be focused on one vice or one sin versus the next, but we all will have something that we're a little bit cuckoo or crazy or obsessive compulsive about. Some people it's money, some people it's, finances, some people it's sex, some people it's, they're so fascinated and fixated on their husband. You have some people they're so fascinated and fixated on their fling or their mistress or whatever your vice is, whatever you are focused on. Okay. Once you have grown mature in the spiritual sense, particularly in a spiritual aspect of it all, God will enlighten you as to what that is. Like he will make it apparent to you as to what that is that you're experiencing and what's, what is it he's trying to convey. I also like to state that this podcast is optional. So this is something that I, like to incorporate, not by far. This is just an open social discussion. That means, if you just so happen to not agree with what I agree with, that's totally fine. There may be many podcasts that you may be in agreement with. So I'm not on this podcast to argue with anybody. I'm not trying to reason with anybody. And I really don't need to hear anything, anybody wants to say that is contrary, or offensive, I should say, to what I feel. This is how I feel. Plain and simple. But let me get a little bit more information out. So in terms of spiritual transition, you have the spiritual renewing. It can be referred to as a spiritual awakening, epiphany, whatever you want to deem it to be. Essentially, it's similar, but in the context of what I'm talking about is death. Just to sum it all up, death. Okay, this is where I'm at right now. This is where I'm focused at right now, and because of this is, based on, working in healthcare with my experience with death and dying as such. So this is where we're at right now. Oftentimes, when you experience things and you have been presented with things, you're able to detect when it comes, meaning when it presents before you, because you yourself have been put into that mode to where you're able to pick it up. So it says on this website, what is spiritual transition? It says that spiritual transition is when you are forced to evolve spiritually beyond what you are. Your higher self determines this before you come to earth. It is not something that is happening to you without your permission, even though it may feel that way. I am in agreement with that to a certain degree. I do feel as though in most instances, death is a choice. I do. Apart from an accident, apart from what would be considered an accident, I do feel, that way. But to get back to the point that I was making in terms of if these are my feelings or is this the feelings of someone else, God will make it apparent to you when those forces have come against you. And what does that mean? When you have been put in a situation where you're bombarded around a lot of demonic forces and spirits who don't wish you any well, He will put it in you to know what that is and what demon has presented before me. And oftentimes you'll find that to cover it up, a lot of those trickery, deceiving spirits will set you up in a situation to cover up what it has already put in place for you. Meaning, say for instance, if I spoke a curse on you and then I get afraid that because I spoke this curse on you, and now that I realize but what my eyes have presented before me, the damage that I have done and can done, now I want to shut up, put up, and want to put the blame off on somebody else. In other words, displace what I said and put out towards somebody else and make it about something that has nothing to do with the core reason. In a sense, kind of like a redemption type of thing, or to displace it towards somebody else. So the biggest trick, when that happens, God will make it apparent to you when you are at death's corner, when it's not your time. He will reveal things to you as to who spoke this curse over on me. And I had this instance to happen, and I think many people will have this instance to happen when you're at death's door. When you're at death's door, and he begins to reveal a lot of things to you, as to the makings and the beginnings of your situation, meaning of your coming into being and you coming into existence, is the point that I'm getting at. You will begin to see why the things that you did and have done why did you do those things? You will begin to understand that. Um, Now, hear me out because I want to play devil's advocate, but at the same time, I don't want it to seem as though I'm being hypocritical or bad talking or what have you. That's not to say that we do not have control over our actions. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that may be so in certain circumstances. However, I am not condoning it. But the point that I'm getting at is this. Some things transpire and happen as a result of understanding as to the reason of existence. You know, an answered prayer or something you wonder about, confused about, something you was a little fuzzy about. So it says spiritual transitions move you to a new place spiritually. Your whole world may be changing as you are being shifted to a new reality. So you will have an enlightenment, a knowing will come to you as to what that is. Plain and simple. Having a spiritual transition is a ton of fun. Things are very uncertain at this time, and you don't know to where life is taking you. During your spiritual transition, you will feel as though your life is falling apart and nothing seems to be going your way. Trust and believe. I know this. I know this. And typically, you know, I made this comment the other day when I had my tarot card reading, one of my tarot card readings over the weekend, where I mentioned that, you know, when there's a transition and those spirits will present themselves in our physical sense, and you will see it within people, like you will know and you will see it. And if you begin to relinquish and put any fear, it feasts her off of that fear. Like it feasts her off of that fear. It is looking to gain souls, because this is what I desire, souls. And when it comes around, you got to be strong. You have to be strong. This is the test. This is the test. This is what they ain't gonna tell you. Not too many of them out there is going to tell you this, but this is the test right here. And they're looking to feast and foster and to gain souls, like a recruiter, like how a recruiter would look to recruit, you know, for the army or for the military. It's similar to that. And when they come around, it's just like some, you know how they show the Babylonian type of biblical movies, you know, the Greek mythology type movies, such as, you know, to name a few, Zeus or Thor, or, you know, back in the Greek and Italian times and things of that nature, where you know, they're sitting around the Colosseum and, you know, they got the lions and all of that, and they just looking at, it's similar to that. It's just like that time and space manifests into this time and space. And I know that may seem as though, you know, that's a little bit far-fetched, but when you at death's corner, it's not. It becomes your reality. So it says eclipses can help you to move in the direction you're supposed to go in life. They're a time of fate. Eclipses are often predetermined events that you decide before you come down to earth. They're great for shifting you in a new direction. So what you have to understand is that those spirits do not like you to reveal it. Okay, so you got to learn how to play along with it. Even if you see the demons in them, you got to learn how to play along with it. Because when you begin to expose it, it will cause injury and harm to you. So you got to learn how to what? And oftentimes God will put the spirit in you to deceive them, because you will see it all the time. You will see them and you will know them. Okay. So it says, how do you know you're going through a spiritual transition? Well, during a spiritual transition, everything feels like it's falling apart. Like nothing is right. Every time you turn around, it's something. You will never feel as though nothing is right. It's just like, oh my gosh, you start off. I mean, you could be doing everything exactly the same or even similar, Monday through Friday, and all of a sudden here come Saturday, and it's like I'm doing the same thing with common sense telling me, okay, everything can't be the same, on a given situation. So you are able to critical think to say, okay, I know this is not applicable for this particular time. So what is the big deal? Then you do it the same way the next time. Same thing. It says during this time, your whole world probably feels like it's falling apart. You're wondering what is going on. Like, what is this is all about? Everything around me is crumbling right in front of your eyes. This feels uncomfortable, but deep down inside, it is for the best. Like, it's a setup. You really can't let it get to you, because oftentimes, if you stay on your spirit works and you pay homage to God and the high heavens, you would take on these impressions. These impressions that you're taking on is to deceive those demonic forces that you may be surrounded by. Sometimes it can get very hard to discern it. You don't have the time to sit back and study everybody to see if they're going to be right or wrong for you. I need to come in here and do what I need to do so I can what? Move forward. So if you stay in your zone, if you stay in your spirituality and your spirit works, God will already have it put in place for you. Number 2, it says during a spiritual transition, nothing you do changes the circumstances, even with diligent effort. That is correct. Because you got to understand, you are working under the power and the guidance of a supreme force. Once you have invited him in and you stay up on your spirit works, and you most of the time stay in on your bargain of the deal, you don't have nothing else to worry about. It's out of your hands at this point. It's out of your hands. Once you have summoned those spirits to assist you and to guide you, it's out of your hands at this point. So we're going to proceed to 3. It says during the spiritual transition, you may feel hopeless. You may feel hopeless, down and out. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? This is terrible. You may feel as though that's what that is. And oftentimes that is what it is. Oftentimes that is what it is. But don't let it get you down. Don't let it get you down, because if you allow your spirit to be broken, this is a demonic spirit that has been preyed upon you and is ready to feast her. So you have to see your way through it. It's the point. This is death knocking, is what that is. It's a death knock. Simple as that. So if you sit back and you listen to all that they try to put you through and all this other stuff, don't pay it any attention. It's the point. Because I'm working on restoration is what I'm working on. And oftentimes what you're experiencing is what the next person maybe is about to happen with this person. So that's why you got to be able to understand And I think this is why people who are healthy, health conscious, and health, as I say, health conscious, health nuts, or whatever, are the way they are. Because this is the way of them understanding, okay, is this how I'm feeling, or is this God letting me know this is how this person feels? Because I did A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So what is going on? So this is God letting you know, oftentimes this could be very well empathy. That's why sometimes you don't give power to certain things, because it's a message that's being conveyed, is what that is. When someone has spoken a curse on you and you allowed it to manifest, because you cannot, you have to be receptive to it, is the point. You do have to be receptive to it. And curses are real. They are. Whether you are accepting to it or not, they are real. They are. But if you are receptive, like if meaning if you are not spiritually fed, you're not on your spirit path, you allow your spirit to be broken, then it can manifest. And then you can just transition on. So you may feel depressed, down and out, and things of that nature. Don't let that be, don't allow Satan to come in and to make things worse off than what it is. Because he can only judge it based on what his limited mindset has been. And when I say limited mindset, I'm not talking about mental capacity or capabilities. No, based on what you have been presented with. Because oftentimes you could be the most intelligent person on the planet. If God sealed you from something, you will be tunnel vision to where, hey, you won't see it or you won't understand it. Number 4, it says during the spiritual transition, things in life are ending. That can very well be the truth if you allow that to be your reality. Excuse me. If you allow that to be your reality, then that's what it's going to be. If you allow that to be your reality, then that's what it's going to be. Plain and simple. You cannot allow that to be your reality. Plain and simple. And you will understand, okay, that's a death knock. That's what it is. That is a death knock. And guess what? You can go knock somewhere else, because you ain't knocking on this door. You can go knock somewhere else. You need to pass over and bypass me, because death is not coming over here. We're not going anywhere. And I'm talking in terms of spiritual transition. You would know when there is a transition that is about to occur. And I mean like transition up, like transition to trans up, spirit, transcend up, like death. You would know it. You would know it. There's nothing no one has to tell you. You will already know it. You will see it. You will see it in the spiritual sense. You will also see it in the physical sense, like the natural sense with your everyday walks of people. You will see it. You will know it. It will be like all of them are what? In agreement. And you know they all don't know each other. And when you begin to incorporate these devices, yes, they do use these devices as tools to what? To actually distract you. Because he will put you in a test. He will put you in a test to where you would know, even if everybody are communicating and are capable of communicating via these devices, that all of them ain't on the same page. And what do I mean by that? So it's kind of, in a sense, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Most people have experienced this, where you could be, walking in the room and people are talking as soon as you walk in the room, and all of a sudden you start, to walk in the room, and you walk close by, and all of a sudden they start to whisper or even get quiet. What's the first thing you begin to think? That these people are what? Talking about me or saying something about me. Everybody experienced that. Everybody has experienced that. Everybody knows that. I mean, everybody has felt that way. That's how a spiritual transition happens. That's what it means when it says they are in agreement. That means it will come together in sync. It will come together in sync, and you will feel and think as though they're talking about you. That's how spirituality and spiritual transition happens as well. And God will have to slow things down for you to where you can see, I don't care nothing. That's why you'll hear me say that quite often. And it's not necessarily that I don't care per se, but that's my way of letting you know whatever is on your mind, or whatever those demons are presented to you in terms of somebody trying to kill, steal, or destroy, it ain't coming from over here. Because I typically keep to myself. If you don't bother me, chances are, or my children, chances are I'm not going to bother you. So whoever got you feeling whatever type of way ain't coming from me. Because oftentimes you'll find those demonic spirits will want to push something up so they can blame it on that. You catch my drift? And this is how it happens. This is it. This is how they work on your mind. And a lot of times when you're under a lot of severe stress and pressure, you can give a damn one way or another. And I think this is why a lot of the violence and things come about as well, in terms of dealing with the spirituality and demonic forces and things of that nature as well. But I'm going to explain to you, those spirits are very deceptive, and you're going to realize why he wrote those texts the way he did. It will appear as though that everybody is coming against you, and some may, but that's not the case with all. Like some people, if you begin to, because I wasn't one of those people who went on video or camera a lot. You need to take note of your facial expressions and things when you're on camera. Oftentimes what you see and what you hear are two different things. They don't match up. And so when you begin to study yourself, you can get both of them in alignment together, so you can see, okay, well, when I was doing that, I did not feel anger. But then if I go back, and I had to do it myself, when I go back and start looking at my videos, it may appear as though I was angry. Like if you go back and take a look at, recording of the videos, it may appear as though I was angry, but I wasn't. Or it's times where I was laughing, it was like, okay, but I was pissed about something. So from the outside looking in, the next person can say, well, it's hard to know. And oftentimes when you are dealing with situations such as that, that's when a person will pray things on you, and you will begin to act in a manner that is contrary to your character, because you got somebody that's always wondering. Okay, now fast forward, getting in any given situation where a person who is already has a preconceived notion about whatever the case may be, and you just somebody that's there that I can use to be my dumping stone or my punching bag, so to speak, or what have you. They will want to perpetuate something so they can get something started. This is what was revealed to me years ago. Has nothing to do with you. And oftentimes these demonic spirits don't even realize nor recognize how Satan plays on them. This is why we have a lot of those spirits that are in what? These institutions. This is why these things occur. This is why these things happen. You got to realize the devil's biggest trick is to what? Convince the world he didn't exist. That means the one who you think. Another scenario, another cliche or catchphrase, if you may. Some people like parables and catchphrases, and the Bible is full of those. Throw a rock and hide a hand, similar to that catchphrase or parable. That means I'm gonna do something and I'm gonna pretend as though I didn't do it. It's the point. They'll put it on all types of stuff. You don't know who doing a lot of this stuff. So when you're able to step back and ask God for revelation, when you ask God for discernment, and when you ask God, you're worried about petty stuff. Don't worry about that petty stuff. You need to focus on what the big picture is. If you begin to focus on what the big picture is, then he will enlighten you on some stuff. He would. Plain and simple. I hate to make all my podcasts to be talking about the same thing, but this is what I am on right now. This is what I'm set at right now. This is what I am set at right now. Kind of like set in stone. You know, he will I mentioned, and that's going to be another topic that I think I might give a little bit more clarity on. Spiritual branding, like Brandon, BRANDING, branded, BRANDED, branded. Similar to OCD. This is what it is, and this is what we are, so to speak. Okay, so I am going to close out this spiritual sense episode for my Spreaker podcast, as well as Spiritual Sense webinar on my YouTube channel, Spiritual Sense. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can comment below. No inappropriate questions, comments, or suggestions. Until then, you have a safe and wonderful day. Good day.